right, welcome back to the Browns Beat podcast. I am one half of your co-host, Tristan. I'm here with my man, Derek. Derek, how are we feeling? Draft is all wrapped up. We kind of discussed it a little bit last podcast, more so Browns specific. But now is the waiting game. The part of the offseason that just absolutely sucks because it takes forever. Derek, how you feeling, my man?
I'm feeling good. We're kind of in the interesting period where there's not really a whole lot going on, but there's still plenty to talk about. We're going to cover other things as well as the draft and just kind of figure things out. But Tristan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Finals wrapped up for me, so
Nice.
finally through school, have the summer off, which is great. But yeah, it was a rough year one, not gonna lie, but we got through.
There you go.
But Derek, so we've got a few topics to discuss today. What was the first one on the docket that you kind of wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this, and I know Deshaun's probably not going to see this, the team's probably not going to see this, but I wanted to talk about it anyway because the Cleveland Browns are once again being doubted, and we get doubted every single year, no matter what, right? Last year, the Browns dealt with all sorts of adversity. The Browns dealt with a lot. We had a good offseason. We had a good preseason. But we were still doubted. And here's the thing. I love doubt. I think doubt is a fantastic thing because, and here's what I mean. Doubt gives you two choices. There are two choices. Either you can believe it and you can be like, oh, you're right, whatever. Or you can laugh in the face of it and be like, okay, like, all right, whatever. Because listen, when you know who you are and you know the worth and what you have, it means nothing. The words mean nothing. What people say means nothing. But it's like somebody with a bike telling a man driving a Lambo that his car sucks. It's like, all right, bro. Like, okay, whatever. But yeah, and it's just all the time with us. We seem to be doubted. And, not to preach at you, but this is something that I feel like applies here. The Bible says he prepares a table before you in front of your enemies. And what I feel like that means here is what doubt does is it opens that door, right? It opens that door for you to go take a seat at that table. And what happens is when you sit at that table, right? Everybody who doubted us last year, right? Adam Rank talking about, the Browns are going to be a 6-11 team. What were we? We were 11-6. So guess what? We took our seat at that table. They couldn't do anything about it, right? The seats were filled. So it doesn't matter what people say, right? Everybody wants to doubt us. But every year consistently, we keep proving it. We keep proving who we are. We keep proving that we're better than what you think. We're better than what you say. And the Browns are no longer the Browns. And that's the thing. Yet again, we have another year where people are doubting us. People are acting like, oh, right, the Steelers had a good draft. The Bengals had a good draft. The Ravens had a good draft. Listen, doubt is a good thing when you look at it from the option 2. If you look at it from option A, you lost before the battle even started, right? But for us, and this is another thing that I think is going to roll over into this year, we're not going anywhere. You're going to have to sit, eat your words, and watch us succeed again. And it doesn't matter what other teams do. Tristan, we brought back our entire defense and added to it. We added weapons offensively. We added in the coaching staff. We even got better in the uniforms, right? So everybody, once again, they're going to fail. They're going to suck. Guess what? The Browns are the Browns, but we're not your definition of the Browns. This is the new era. This is the new Cleveland Browns. And Tristan, I don't know about you, but I start seeing this stuff and it got on my nerves, not from a standpoint of, I'm all upset, but it's funny to me. I laugh at it because they never learn. They never learn, Tristan. Every year it's the same song and dance over and over and over. And it's like, keep doing it. You're making yourself look so stupid. And I love it because guess what? There's going to come a time where the Cleveland Browns in the preseason are going to be talked about once again. Oh, they're not going to do much. They're not going to do this. And guess what? At the end of the year, they're going to be holding a Lombardi. It's going to happen. Not saying it's this year for sure. I'm not saying it's in the next couple years. But until these people learn, the Adam Ranks of the world learn, the Browns are not going anywhere. Until they learn that, that's what it's going to be. So I could go on forever. If you can't tell, I think this is hilarious. Like, I think it is so funny that consistently over and over and over again, they continue to doubt us. They continue to act like we're nothing. And all we've done is put out good team after good team, add to it, and keep adding to it. So, Tristan, go ahead, because I could go on forever.
Yeah, so I kind of have a different thought on that. From like, right, so if I take off my Browns tinted glasses, right, and I try to take a step back and I try to say, what would the national media, like national narrative about the Cleveland Browns be, right? Well, the last game that you saw, we got absolutely mopped by the Texans, right? The defense didn't look great at all, right? And on top of that, Deshaun Watson didn't have a good year. So you have people that, based off of that big national TV game, they're probably questioning how good is this defense? Like, is it maybe just a case of they overperformed last year? And can we expect the same from them this year from what they did from a statistical side of things? And then do we believe that Deshaun Watson is going to survive in this offense? I also have to say, I think part of the other reason for this narrative is also matching quarterbacks up, right? Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson. Right now, it's very clear it's Lamar Jackson. Deshaun Watson versus Joe Burrow. It's very clear it's Joe Burrow. With Pittsburgh, it's a completely different thing. Pittsburgh hasn't had a losing record in years, right? So it's hard for the national media to bet against Pittsburgh. So rather than saying, I can't believe why they aren't ranking us, I can't believe why they aren't rating us higher and stuff like that, I'll just explain why I believe they are wrong to feel the way they feel. Number one, this defense is going to be the best in the AFC North this year, without a doubt. The Baltimore Ravens lost a lot of pieces on that defense that were very, very crucial to them. And I don't believe that they will. I think they'll be a good defense still. I don't think that they're going to be able to perform to the level that they did and keep up with where the Browns were last year as well. On top of that, the Bengals, they lost DJ Reader. And you talk to Bengals fans, that is a ginormous loss. And based off of what we've seen from that Bengals team, we know that that team without DJ Reader is a completely different team defensively. I also don't think that I think right now Cincinnati has a very big cultural problem, and it comes from stress from the GM. Obviously Trey Hendrickson's requested a trade. T. Higgins has requested a trade. There's a lot going on there right now, and there's a lot of noise, not only just outside of the building but inside as well. So I trust that the Browns defense can be better than those two. Pittsburgh Steelers, listen, excuse me. You know how I feel about Mike Tomlin. I think he's one of the elite coaches in the NFL, one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, because what he's done, his time in Pittsburgh has been nothing short of excellence. Like, even Bill Belichick couldn't do what Tomlin's doing right now, right? Completely compensating for a terrible offense, at least has been terrible offense. So I don't want to say exactly where I think the Steelers will rank, but I've got a gut feeling that their defense is going to be good this year. You know, it's better than it was last year for sure. Do I think it will be at the same level as the Browns? Personally, no. And maybe that's a personal bias on there, but I've got last year's statistics to point at. So, you know, I've got some evidence in that opinion.
Yeah.
And then we take a look offensively. The Cincinnati Bengals, without a doubt, when we look at it from a receiving aspect, are the best passing team in the division. 100%. There's no questions about it, right? We would have to go out there and prove something that we haven't shown before, that we can be an elite passing team. Although you could argue with Flacco we did, but you know, when we're throwing multiple interceptions a game, I don't count that elite. So, but here's where we do have the Cincinnati Bengals beat, and it's on the offensive line and it's the running back, and it's not even close. I think that what Cincinnati did on the offensive line with bringing in Trent Brown was a very, very good addition, and it is one that kind of makes me just go, damn, like, you know, that's a good player. But is that going to solve everything on the offensive line? I don't know. There's also a lot of injury history with that offensive line. So, you know, it's a question mark, to say the least. Again, you got T. Higgins, who's upset about his contract, so who knows there. But the running back situation, you know, they're going to rely on Zach Moss and a guy who they drafted last year, whose name is slipping me right now. I wish I could remember it, but and who knows? Maybe they're good. Maybe they're going to be great players for them. That's awesome. But you cannot tell me that they compare to Nick Chubb at this moment in time. They got to prove something that we haven't seen from them. That's the thing. And when we look at this Browns offensive line, it's going to be one of the best units in the NFL as long as it stays healthy. And then Nick Chubb, as long as if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the best backs in the NFL. And I've got evidence to back that up. You know, so that's where I think, right. So the Browns have that advantage on the offensive side of the ball. And what they added in Jerry Jeudy to the receiving room is a solidified number 2 that now gives you additional depth with pass catchers. I think that Jerry, I really think he's motivated to have a great year here in Cleveland. Yep. And, you know, there's a lot of people who hated this move for us. And I'm here to tell you that, listen, I get it, because we gave a big contract to a guy that we haven't had take it down for us. We don't know how it's going to work. You know, the last place pretty much booted him out of town. But this is a talented football player, and he is at minimum at least a league average number 2 wide receiver. And for this offense, that's what we need. We needed a guy that we could just depend on being a reliable wide receiver 2. Elijah Moore had some great flashes last year. He just wasn't the answer at that position. And, you know, maybe if he had a little bit more time with Flacco and didn't get injured in that Jets game, maybe we would have seen a little bit more in that Jets game, because he was having a killer game. But it's just, you know, you'd have to see something from him that we haven't seen him do before. Jerry Jeudy's put up wide receiver 2 numbers before. He's a good player. And then you had Amari Cooper, who I believe it's 3 straight years has led the AFC North in wide receiver reception yards. You know, it goes under the radar because people view Jamar Chase as the savant, which he is. He's great. He's great at the receiver position. Do not get me wrong there. But Amari Cooper is on a similar level. You know, if you were going to ask me which one would you prefer, I don't know. Right? For me, it's close. I love what Cooper brings to us, but I could see why Bengals fans love Jamar Chase more and why a lot of other people would consider Jamar Chase better. But I think what Coop's been doing here for the Browns has been fantastic. You know, we go down the line, right? Offensively, the Steelers got a lot of new pieces. They'd have to show us something we haven't seen before. I trust that our offense can be better. The Baltimore Ravens, oddly enough, this is a team that I think is very close with us on the ground, but I think they're better because they have a quarterback that rushes for 1,000 yards. But in the receiving game, I think we've got better receivers than them, and I don't think it's close. Excuse me. So, you know, I think when you look at everything individually, every single section, and you dissect it, I think the Cleveland Browns have the best team all around in the AFC North. And really, the only thing that can hold us back is quarterback. So, listen, national media, they can say whatever they want, and you know what? For now, okay, I'll take it, right? But the reality is this: what you're betting against with the Browns is you're hoping that Deshaun sucks, right? To make your bet come true, right? That the Browns are going to be last in the AFC North, whatever. You'd be betting on Deshaun to play so badly that we finish fourth in the division, even though last year, when the whole team, for the most part, the best players on this team were hurt, and we still found a way to get second in the division, second best record in the AFC. You know, like that. It's just, I think it's a dumb move by a lot of these analysts to predict the Browns fourth, because it's just dumb optics. I think people have to look at the facts and say that this Browns team is the best team all around in the AFC. The question mark's at quarterback. So
Yeah.
it just, when we think about it logically, it's a stupid take to have that the Browns are going to finish fourth. But I don't care. I really don't. This year for me is all about, number one, get to the playoffs. Number two, at least AFC Championship game for me. That's where this team is at for me. If they don't hit that, then I don't care. I don't care. That's all I'm about for me personally this year. I could care less what these critics have to say. I just think it's a dumb take by them.
And that's the thing. If you think anybody in that locker room cares whatsoever, then you're lying to yourself. They don't. They know, Jerry Jeudy knows how talented he is, right? He knows that regardless of the situation he's been in, he's a good football player. Deshaun Watson, as much as people don't want to admit it, Deshaun Watson knows he's talented, right? Even if you don't like him, no matter what your opinion is on him, bro, he knows that he is a good football player. It's just a matter of reproving it again. And he doesn't have to prove it to anybody. He doesn't have to prove it to these analysts. He's just got to prove it to himself, because once he proves it to himself, Tristan, we've seen with Deshaun, the confidence has been electric. When he's on, he's on. You know why? Because up here, he knows, hey, I'm that dude. I know I can still do this at a high level. So it's not a matter of proving other people wrong, or these analysts who are talking about, oh, the Browns are going to be last and Deshaun can't do this. It's not about that. It never has been. What it's about is those guys in the locker room holding each other accountable and being like, hey, you know how good you are. I know my talent. Let's go do this. Right? And that's what kept the Browns together for the last couple years. Right? We've dealt with adversity. We've dealt with haters, as far as like, you know, the Jacoby era of the Cleveland Browns. We dealt with injuries. We've dealt with all sorts of things. Right? And did this team underperform at times? Yes, but guess what? Right? The same team that went 11-6 with third string players out there at a lot of positions is the same team coming back healthy and some. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny, and I think they think it's funny, in all honesty. Because if you're in that locker room, or you're Kevin Stefanski, or you're Andrew Berry, you know the amount of talent, you know the quality that this roster has. And again, when you know the quality of what you have, the sky's the limit. Because nothing is going to affect you. It's you versus you. So I'm pumped. I am pumped about this season. I cannot wait. It's the same thing as every year. Every year we come into the season, or at least maybe it's just me, Tristan. I come into the season, I'm like, man, I cannot wait to go out there and play good quality football just to make all these people look stupid. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? You can't you gotta, the words that you say, everything that you say, you gotta either accept it that you were wrong, or on the off chance you're right. But guess what? You know, Tristan, we sat here and talked about the draft how many years, right? And it's like, hey, if we're wrong, we're wrong. But if we're right, we're right. There's no in between. But these analysts, it's funny because they have a weird way of avoiding it. They have this way of, like, they'll say something at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year when they're wrong, they'll just talk about another team. It's like, no, we remember. We remember what you said, and guess what? We were right. So, I don't know about you, Tristan. It pumps me up. It gets me excited. Not to prove them wrong, but just to prove ourselves right as Browns fans, to know what we have, know what this team is, and then just go out and do it. Go show who we are. So, anyway, I'll shut up. Like I said, I could just rant forever. But you have anything else you want to add on to that? Or?
No. I'm just I'm excited to see what this team can do next year, and I'm really, really hopeful that my dog will stop barking, but also that the dogs in the dog pound will not stop barking. You know what I'm saying? So
there you go.
I really hope that wow, my wish came true.
There you go.
Exactly. Wow, it's a metaphor for the season. No, I'm kidding.
There you go.
But no, I just, for me, it's all about wins and losses this year. I don't care about the optics.
Yeah.
It's I gotta say, it's really nice when you can tell some people who very much doubt your team that they were wrong. I'm excited to see where this season goes. I want this team to prove us right. That's the most important thing, like you said.